Good afternoon. Welcome to St Francis Sermon at 6. If we've not met before, my name is Andy. I'm the church leader here at St Francis. We've had a wonderful day. In fact, it's been a wonderful week. There have been so many things going on. We have had got a youth drop in on a Wednesday afternoon, which has been going for 3 weeks now, and just connecting with local young people, providing somewhere warm and safe. There's free hot dogs, there's free hot chocolate, and just playing games, table tennis, that sort of stuff. We had our Bible course started last week on Tuesday evening, so going through the big story of the Bible over 8 weeks, run by the Bible Society. So it's their material, really, really good. Thursday evening, we started Alpha, which is an opportunity to unpack the Christian faith over about 10 weeks. We had a whole bunch of guests there. And if you've not signed up for Alpha, we would love for you to come and check it out. Week 2 is really week 1. Week 1 is kind of an introduction. So you haven't missed a lot if you were to turn up this Thursday evening at 7:30. If you go to our website, go to STF Mackworth. I'll put a link. In fact, let me see if I can find it now for you. But you would be so welcome to come and check that out with us, either Bible course or Alpha. We had a Kaylee last night, so we all made ourselves look very silly doing that, but it was a lot of fun. Like, people really enjoyed it, and yeah, you would be so. You know, I think we're going to probably do it again. So, what is this? Somebody's just asked. We are a church in Mackworth in Derby, and this is our online sermon. I don't know how you come across us, but you're so welcome. What else is going on? We have got. We've got lots of things going on. So you go to our website, go to our social media, actually at STF Mackworth, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, those places you'll be able to see what is happening at St Francis in Mackworth. So this morning, my wife, Rachel, who is one of our licensed lay ministers, she spoke from the book of Proverbs chapter 6. I put a link in the comments if you're on YouTube or our Facebook. We are doing a series on the book of Proverbs. It is a book of the Bible written hundreds of years before Jesus, and it's very practical, pithy sayings. They're not promises, but they're kind of truisms. Like, if everything worked well in life, this is how kind of, so like, you know, good people get good stuff, bad people get bad stuff going to them. Like, the righteous will prosper. And we know, of course, it has to be tempered with the life of Jesus and with Ecclesiastes and with Job. But actually, there's some really wise things in here. And Rachel will be talking about our words and our work and our ways. So she's got 3 W's. So if you have a look at Proverbs chapter 6, verses 1 to 19, and then Ephesians 4, verses 25 to 32. If you're new to St Francis, we have a vision to be a light on the hill for our estate, and we work it out in 3 ways. We talk about worshipping God, growing community, and serving our estate. And we do that in a whole bunch of different ways, some of the things I've already mentioned. So I'm going to hand over to me from this morning. It was our 9 o'clock service, so I'm kind of dressed up in robes and dog collar and looking priestly or something like that, and Rachel's going to share with us. Do turn her up at the beginning. There's a little bit of sound issues, but we get that sorted a few minutes in. So here we go. Enjoy.
By your Spirit, we speak through Rachel this morning, I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Andy. David, at the production desk, I don't know if you're aware, but I have a few slides to come up, and if you could just put the first one up now. Somebody sent this to me earlier in the week, and it really resonated with a few of us, as particularly as I was preparing this talk. The more I went through Proverbs, the more I started to feel quite foolish. And anyway, have you ever made a bad choice? I know I have. Let me, we're there, aren't we? We've all made bad choices. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you guys, because there is a bad choice that I make regularly. And that is staying up too late. I stay up late quite often. You know, I have a very huggy family. My husband and my children, they're real huggers. And I'm like, yeah, I like a hug. I could probably take it or leave it. And after a day of hugs, where I give out all the hugs that are requested of me, I quite like it when everyone's gone to bed and I just have time to sit by myself, usually watching TV, eating chocolate, and then before I know it, it's gone midnight and I waddle up to bed. And the next morning, I'm exhausted. Now, I'm pretty good at getting up when my alarm goes off, and I get everything Sorry, this is making funny noises, isn't it? What do I need to do? There we go. Is that better? Yes, it's not making that silly noise. Sorry about that. Anyway, so yes, I get up with my alarm the next day, and I'm pretty good at like getting everything ready and packing the kids off to school, and then I come home and I just want to do nothing. The only thing I want to do is sit and drink coffee and ignore my day and everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Now, when I'm tired, I really lack motivation for anything, and I definitely don't want to see anyone either. But the thing is that I know it is so bad for me. It's not good to not get enough sleep, and it's not good to put myself in a position where I lack motivation. And I'll have no sense of achievement or purpose throughout the day. That's not good for anyone. So yeah, it can be wonderful as an introvert as well, not seeing anyone. But I've been guilty of doing that for days at a time, just not seeing anyone. And gradually you start to really need that connection with people. And the thing is, when I don't have connection with people, I then start to feel really low. And then when I feel low, I start to create these false narratives in my head that, nobody would want to hang out with me anyway. You see how it escalates. This one little bad choice of, I just want some time to myself. I go to bed too late, and it escalates to me thinking everyone hates me and wouldn't want to hang out with me anyway. So, this choice for a little later bedtime, it drifts into something far worse. You know, and I've been really loving this teaching series on Proverbs. We've had some brilliant sermons to kick us off, lots to think about, lots to be challenged by. And the wisdom literature in the Bible, it is just so good. It is so practical. And in many ways, it's really obvious stuff, isn't it? Really obvious. But I have found having someone kind of unpack this sometimes quite poetic way of writing, it's really good to have people unpack that for us. And I'm hoping that it's starting to become apparent that small things, small compromises, small choices, they drift into bigger things. That's what we're going to be looking at today. And Proverbs talks a lot about self-inflicted harm, stuff that can be easily avoided. And so today we're going to talk about 3 everyday areas of life where responsibility matters maybe more than we think. So number 1 is our words. So the first section of our passage from Proverbs today is essentially about what we say, because what we say really matters. And it's talking about not making promises to like pay your neighbour's debts or a stranger's bill and things like that. But this isn't just about making terrible financial obligations. And it's things like, we didn't have to get ourselves into that. It's saying, don't be trapped by what you said. Don't be caught out by the words of your mouth. In other words, don't make promises that you can't keep. Don't be a people pleaser. You know, we can tie ourselves in knots and become trapped. Now, years ago, I worked for Bank of Ireland in the city of London, and I got myself into a bit of a pickle. I had this project that I had to complete, and I thought it was going to be a really simple task. Back in the day, I was a bit of a whiz with a computer, but, you know, a decade or so of bringing up my kids and not going near a computer, I fail miserably now. But I'd said to my boss at the time, oh yeah, it's fine, I'll get this done in no time. Well, that was not the case. I should have actually thought about the process that I would need to use. And so it was taking a long time, and he was on my back, and I was working late every night to try and get this stuff done. And it just, you know, I was falling asleep on the train home. He was on my back. I did not want to work there anymore. I was so done with it, and I didn't like him. But But do you see how it spirals? A promise that I couldn't keep. People-pleasing words, a stressful situation that could have been avoided. I was careless with my words. I was proud and I was people-pleasing. I was trapped in a situation that did not need to happen. Because our words create expectations. And every careless yes that we say is a burden that we are agreeing to carry for the foreseeable. People-pleasing as well, it's often pride in disguise, wanting to look competent or kind or impressive. And we all will fail here at times for whatever reason. And I'm sure we've all said things and then not been able to deliver. Maybe we've overpromised and underdelivered. So let's think about, are we making promises that we can't keep? Or are we using people-pleasing words? And if it's a yes, think about what might be going on for you there that's making you do those things. So number one, taking responsibility for our words. And on to number two, our work. So we come to the second section of our reading today, verses 6 to 8, where Solomon starts writing about ants and lazy people, and in some translations, sluggards, which I quite like. He says, think about the ants, consider its ways. Be wise, perhaps like the ants. It doesn't have anyone telling it what to do, and yet it stores up its food during the summer, and it gathers it at the harvest time. And do you notice the ant is not frantically rushing around, it's being faithful in what it needs to do and where it needs to be and when. Now, reading these next verses, I felt a little bit got at. It says, you lazy people, how long will you lie there? When will you get up from your sleep? You might sleep a little or take a little nap. You might even fold your hands and rest. Then you would be poor, as if someone had robbed you. You would have little, as if someone had stolen from you. You know, in these verses, laziness, it can sound quite reasonable. A little nap here, a little folding of the hands. Lovely. But then comes the drift. If we just laid around sleeping all the time, poverty comes like a robber, quietly and gradually and unexpectedly. And I think I'm not that big a napper. I don't think I'm that big a napper. But then I started thinking about it, and there have been times when I have been. Now, when I first started working at the bank, the guy that I was working for, I think he had 5 or 6 directors that worked for him, and he said to me, I want you to go out, meet the directors, meet their teams, get to understand the business. So I was like, okay. And I got invited to one of the teams. They had an away day on a posh golf course in London. It was very nice, but because I was going somewhere different, I didn't sleep very well the night before, because I get nervous when I'm going somewhere new that I've not been before. So yeah, lack of sleep. And I will never forget this, because it was so embarrassing. It had been a really long day, and we're sat round this table, and I'm at one end of the table, and the director is at the other end of the table, and he's presenting, and I fell asleep. And I was rudely awakened by him going, stay with us now, Rachel. And I jolted awake. I have never done that again. Now, these verses, they're not about being anti-rest. We need rest. God rested. It's really important. This is about anti-drift. Lots of Proverbs wisdom around small things can pile up and turn into big things. You know, what if I had continually fell asleep at work? I I thought, it's not that big a deal. Who cares? What might the consequences have been? I wasn't being paid to sleep. Perhaps I would have ended up without a job. A little nap here, folding of the hands. Poverty comes like a robber, quietly, gradually, unexpectedly. And when I think about work and not working that leads to poverty, I often think back to these ladies, the next slide, that we saw in Bali. Me and Andy went there back in 2009. We saw lots of places and met all sorts of different people, but these ladies were incredible. It's probably a bit fuzzy because the camera wasn't that great, but these ladies, they were older ladies, and you can see they've got big smiles on their face, carrying enormous rocks up a steep hill in the boiling sun with smiles on their faces. And we were like, wow, that is so impressive. And they said, if we don't work, we don't eat. And that really stuck with me. So disciplined. And you know, this isn't a passage about shaming people who are living in poverty, who are unemployed, who are sick, burnt out, or overwhelmed. Proverbs is about patterns and habits. It's not about isolated seasons. I was telling someone recently that when I was pregnant with my first Tibby, I was still working at the bank, and I was doing a long commute. So it was just over 3 hours a day. So an hour and 40 one way, an hour and 40 back, and a day's work. And I would sleep all the way to work, and then I would have a 10-minute nap at 11 a.m. and a 10-minute nap at 3 p.m. in the loo, just with my head on the side of the wall. And then I would sleep all the way home, have dinner with Andy, and go to bed early so that I could be up at 6 and do it all again. Now that was a season. There was a reason for my naps. I had less tea breaks and less lunch so that I could fit my naps in at work. It wasn't due to my lack of discipline, like when I fell asleep in my team meeting. It was a season, not a pattern of bad habits. And you know, I'm preaching as much to myself here as to anyone else. Do we perhaps need to be more disciplined? And that discipline, it can work two ways. So for some of us here, we need to hear, you've got to rest. Get your rest. Be disciplined with your rest. Stop pressurizing yourself to do more. And for others of us, we might really need to hear, get up and work. And there's all sorts of work that we're involved in, whether it's paid or voluntary, or perhaps you're caregiving, stay-at-home parent, or have elderly relatives, or you're serving or studying, and all of that counts. So being disciplined. I often think of discipline as a burden, but really it's a gift that enables us to do what we need to do. It's so easy, I don't know about you, but it's really easy to build bad habits, but it seems much harder to build good habits. You know, the ones that help us to take care of ourselves. And one of the women that I mentor, we know that we're both like quite rubbish in this area of building good habits. So we felt quite challenged, and we've decided to read the book Atomic Habits together. See how we go with that. But I'm so bad with habits that I haven't started it yet. So that is one of my challenges after today, that I need to go and read the book. So I'm going to start it. So yeah. So this thing, a little sleep here, a little folding of the hands. I'll say it again, it's small compromises over time. We drift, and it can lead to bigger consequences. So discipline is future kindness. It's choosing today what your future self is going to thank you for. And good habits aren't just about productivity. It's about love, so that we can show up for the people around us, at work and at home, and in our relationships and in our faith as well. So, careless words, they entangle us. Careless habits weaken us. And finally, moving on, careless character can break us. So, looking at number 3, our ways, which is our character. I needed to have the 3 W's, right? So, this final section, it's moving away from our behaviours, the external stuff, to our character, the internal stuff. And our final section of the passage today mentions 7 things that God hates. So to summarise from the passage, these are pride, lies, harm, plotting, eagerness for evil, false witness, and division. And all of these things are relational sins. They destroy trust. They fracture communities. And they often start small, internally, before becoming external and perhaps having bigger consequences. Again, it's the drift. We rarely go straight to division through a big evil decision. You know, these things that God hates begin with the posture of our hearts. The list starts with pride, and it escalates. So pride might tell us, I'm better than them. I'm doing more than them. I've been through more than them. And it's all in here. And the lies might remain in here, but often they begin to spill out. And as they do, people get hurt. And as we try to protect or defend ourselves, we might begin to plot, and we don't want the best for those people. In fact, maybe I only want the best for me. I might want awful things for them. And the lies get bigger. And as we begin to share with everyone who will listen our witness that is false, then there's division because people believe it. And all of this escalation, this drift, it can damage workplaces and friendships and families and churches. Have you seen it? I know I have. And at this point, it might sound like Proverbs is just listing all the ways that we get it wrong. But I want to say that that is not the heart of this message. Proverbs, it's not written to shame us and make us feel bad. It's to stop the drift. God loves us too much to leave us in a place where small choices quietly eventually cause big damage. And this is where Jesus changes everything. Where Proverbs says, watch your words, Jesus says, I'm the Word made flesh. Where Proverbs warns us about pride and deceit and division, Jesus is the one who humbled himself, spoke truth and healed the broken and made peace through his own body, dying on a cross so that we were no longer separated from God if we choose to follow him. And Jesus, he doesn't stand over us saying, do better. He comes alongside us and says, come with me. He forgives us when our words have hurt. He restores us when our habits have weakened us. And he reshapes us when our hearts have drifted. And by his grace, he invites us to live differently. And that is also the heart of Ephesians 4 that we read from earlier. It says, speak truth, build one another up, let go of bitterness, be kind and forgiving, not because we're trying to earn God's love, but because Jesus already loves us, and we want to be a light for him. So maybe the question today isn't, where have I failed miserably in all of this? It should be, where have I drifted? And where is Jesus gently calling me back? We turn from the drift with small, grace-filled choices, a conversation, an apology, a decent bedtime, a boundary, a decision to speak life instead of poison. And Proverbs, it's like lighting up this wise path before us. But Jesus walks it with us because, as I said, it's never about